everyone, my name is Satan herself, thank you Jules, and I am going to be doing the speedrun tutorial for Rack and Slay today. So Rack and Slay is a new roguelike billiards game, and that's a funny little genre of gaming to be in, but you'll see what it means when I get started. That was just recently released, only about a month ago, by Ludoculture, who is an awesome game dev, and it's just a really fast-paced, fun game with a lot of decision-making, a lot of precision shots, and I think it makes a really great speedrun no matter who you are, because there are really fast categories, there are longer categories, there are categories that test your ability to choose items really quickly, there are categories that test your ability to shoot really quickly, and there are categories that do a little bit of everything. So I think it's just such a great run for every kind of runner. No matter what you want in a game, I think Rack and Slay kind of delivers it for you. It's also a really good IMO beginner run. I think for a lot of people who are looking for a speedrun to get into, I think Rack and Slay provides a lot of really great runs for that, because it's very intuitive, but it also has a very high skill ceiling. You can learn a lot about this game and get a lot better over time. But it's really, really inviting. It's, again, got really short runs, so if you don't have a ton of time in your day, I think this is a fantastic game to just pick up. But also, if you want longer runs, this game has them as well. So it can kind of satisfy everybody's desires. And yeah, that's a little bit about the game and why I think it is well worth your time as a speedrunner. And even as a beginner speedrunner, you can totally pick this game up. So now let's talk about the sort of technicalities of how you would go about making yourself a run. And if you don't need to hear this part, if you're familiar with speedrunning already, you're familiar with speedrun.com and Livesplit and stuff like that, you can skip to the next section. There will be timestamps in the YouTube, timeline and caption below, so no need to worry about that too much. But if you are new to speedrunning and kind of don't know exactly how to get yourself set up, then I'm going to talk about that a little bit. This is not going to be a full guide on how to download Livesplit, on exactly how to navigate SRC, but I will just talk about the basics. So if you can see on my left side of the screen, I have this fun little application here called Livesplit, and you can see it has a timer at the beginning and a bunch of splits that sort of catalog the parts of the run that I'm going to be doing. And while you do not need Livesplit to submit a run to the boards, it is really, really helpful to have, because this allows you to see how fast your runs are, and even to see how fast certain sections of your runs are, and that will help you improve. Livesplit is a free application. It is free to download and to set up. So just search Livesplit on Google, and you know what? I'll even put a link in the description to somebody who is going to tutorialize how to set up Livesplit, because Livesplit's really important. We don't currently have any splits to download from the SRC boards, but that's something I would like to do. So when I can find time, hopefully I can just upload some splits there, and you can just be able to download the split document after you've downloaded Livesplit itself, and that will make it easy to get started speedrunning whichever category you choose. Yeah, so that's one thing. The second thing is if you have a run and you're happy with it and you want to submit it, you should go to speedrun.com. I do have the link in the description for our speedrun.com page, and you can navigate to your desired category on that speedrun page and then click submit run. You should make sure that your run is legal by looking at the rules, and you should even do that before you start a run as well. You should look at the rules for a run and make sure that you're adhering to them, and if you are, then you can go ahead and submit a run. We don't have a ton of special rules for this game. There are certain runs where we require audio for recording, so like you have to have something playing throughout the entire recording that we can tell. Preferably the game audio, or at least the sound effects audio, to make sure that you're not doing any splicing. But otherwise, we really just require you to show the beginning of the run, the end of the run, and of course everything in between. But you know, you can't quit out before you're just about to end the run. That would not be legal, for example. Or you can't submit, the back half of a run. But otherwise, as long as you have a nice little video of your run, then we will take a look at it. I am an SRC mod, so I am an authority on this topic as much as anybody can be. So I can say that we love seeing new runners. We love seeing new runs come in. I love moderating everybody's runs and making sure that the board is populated. So come on down, submit a run. We'd love to see it no matter what time it is, and no matter which category you decide to play. Yeah. I am going to talk a little bit about something a little bit technical with the game as well, and that is that there are going to be future patches for this game. So this game is in V1.07 right now, and 1.1 does come out in a couple of days, and then presumably Ludiculture will be continuing to update Rack and Slay beyond that time. So this tutorial is only really meant for versions 1.07 and previous. However, it's going to be pretty generalizable because I think that future updates are really going to only going to add items and enemies, and while that's going to be important, it's not going to be the core gameplay. This tutorial is going to focus on the core gameplay. I am also going to be updating my document with every version update so that it is always up to date, because I can't record a video for every single version update, but I can update the live Google document. You can find that Google document either if you're watching live in the Twitch pinned comment. I highly recommend clicking that link right now. Or if you're watching through YouTube, you can go down into the caption and click that as well. New mode and stuff. Oh yeah, there's going to be a new mode. You're right, you're right. Well, we'll see how that goes. But either way, this is definitely going to cover the absolute basics, and we will be updating that document. And if there becomes a major shift in the community, I will re-record a video, and we'll kind of update. But either way, that document's always going to be up to date. And that document's really, really important as well, because it includes, first of all, it's basically a text version of this video, plus a bunch of extra stuff. And the extra stuff includes full overview of all of the challenges in this game and how they interact with items, full glossary of enemies, miscellaneous other things, and items. And the items glossary is going to be extremely detailed, with rankings for items, as well as synergies, and how good they are for speedruns, and how you should use them. Unfortunately, I'm saying it's going to be because the glossaries are not included yet. I've been working on them on the side. They should hopefully be updated in the next couple of days. However, everything that we're going to be talking about in this video, including the challenge breakdowns, are already in that document. So it's very, very comprehensive. You're going to be able to use it at any time in the future for Rack and Slay runs, and you can comment on it as well. If you sort of know something that isn't included or want clarification on something that isn't quite clear, you can always comment on that Google document. I will look over it and answer your questions. So yeah, that is a super, super helpful resource. And that's about all of the sort of like housekeeping stuff I needed to do. Now let's go ahead and start talking about the game mechanics. So first I'm going to kind of go over all the ways you can play this game as of now. So if you click New Run, you're going to be met with a couple of different options. Wild runs and daily runs we don't have categories for on SRC as of now. And we do not have categories on SRC for raids or delves, but we do have ones for dungeon crawl, as well as a difficulty 1 through 20 gauntlet of either raids or delves. And that basically just means that you would be going through 20 playthroughs of a raid, and every playthrough is going to have a different difficulty, for example, or the same thing with delve. But the most popular category and the most foundational category for this game is dungeon crawl. Dungeon crawl is 10 levels back to back. You do get to visit the shop in between levels. This game has a shop. It is a roguelike, so you get random items and the ability to buy things in between levels, and you have to beat the final level in order to win. But for now, we're just going to hop into a raid, because a raid doesn't include the shop, so it will help us sort of zoom in on the game mechanics first. You're also going to be able to choose a difficulty. Difficulties do whatever is mentioned on the right side. So 7 difficulty, for example, adds all those things that you can read there right now. We have categories for difficulty 7 and difficulty 10 for every single way to play this game. Difficulty 7 and difficulty 10 are the SRC standards right now. If you want to do runs in different difficulties, you are more than welcome to do that, and we would love to see them as well. And if any difficulty becomes really, really popular, then we will totally consider it for the SRC boards as well. However, right now, we're on difficulty 7 and difficulty 10. Those are sort of our standard difficulty levels. And there's one more thing I need to discuss, which is the speed setting. So this fast forward speed setting will help us go faster in between shots. So when you shoot your ball, this is going to be the speed that it's at. We have speed settings for 2x and 6x for everything. 1x we all feel is a little bit too slow even, which is kind of funny, but 2x is kind of the slower paced way to play this game. You can see a lot of things clearer and easier, and you have a little bit more time between shots to consider. 6x is really fast paced, super fun, and gives immediate feedback a lot of the time. I personally prefer 6x, and so do most people in the community. However, 2x I think is a really inviting speed to both learn at and to talk about the game at while it's happening, because it's got a little bit more time between shots just to get deeper into what's going on. So I am going to be doing the gameplay today in 2x speed. You're also going to want to check that always fast forward button, because if you don't check that, then you're going to have to manually fast forward between shots, and that's no good. So click that always fast forward button. All of these other things are cosmetic, and you don't have to do any of them in particular or not to have a valid run. Yeah, you can have on blood skulls or off. You can have on screen shake or not. I'm gonna turn it off for the purposes of this. It doesn't matter. All that matters is this speed setting here. Yeah, so you're gonna have to make sure you've configured those correctly before you do whichever run you're going to do. And now let's hop into a raid and start talking about the basics of the game. Okay. So as you can see here, we are this little white ball in the center here. And we're going to be able to aim by swiveling our mouse all the way around. Here, you can aim in any direction. You might, of course, get met by an obstacle or an enemy, but you can aim in any direction at any time. You will also notice that there are all these red balls on the screen, and what's up with that? Well, basically, these are our enemy balls, and we have to defeat them. In a raid, you actually have to defeat every single one of them in order to pass the raid. However, in other game modes, in the vast majority of levels, you don't actually have to beat all of them. All you have to do is not die. Here, you can see your health meter. So it's got these 3 numbers on it. The first number is how much health you have now. So if I took a damage, it would be 6 out of 7. And then that second number, of course, is your max health. In difficulty 7, you start with 7 health, but at other difficulties, you'll start with different amounts of health as well. And then this -7 is how many health I were to lose if I were to run out of shots right now. And so basically what that means is that every enemy on screen will do a damage to you at the end of the level if you leave it alive. So that's no good. So we want to try to kill them before that happens. There's also a special enemy that will do 2 damage to you, but we are not seeing it on the screen right now. That can be found in the enemy's glossary in the document that I was talking about earlier. So if your health drops to 0, you will lose the run. So you don't want to do that. One way you can get damaged is, as I just referred to, at the end of the level, if you leave any balls alive, they will do damage to you. Another way is by running into traps, and these traps are also the ways you kill enemies. So there's a bunch of different categories of traps. First of all, there's literal traps. These bear traps on the ground, they will do 1 damage to you, unless you have an item called Trapper, which we actually do have right now, but I'll get into that later. But they will also kill an enemy when you do that. There are holes, just like in a normal billiards game, except for they look a little bit funkier. And you can go ahead and shoot a ball into those, and they will die, but you also will take a damage if you fall into a hole. These spikes kind of come up and down every other turn. These will also hurt you if you're on top of them when they come up. These other spikes, these red spikes on the wall, or I guess these are stakes, and these are spikes. These spikes on the wall will also kill enemies, but will also hurt you unless you have an item called Spike Swallower, which we do not have right now. And there's 1 or 2 other more niche ways to kill enemies. Teleporters, for example, are one of them. That would be in the miscellaneous section of the document, but we did not get any in this random generation. And this is a good time to talk about as any about the randomness in this game. So every single level that you boot up is actually random in this game. Where the holes are, where the enemies are, whether there's anything on the ground, all of that is going to be random. The obstacles, they're all random. And this doesn't apply for a raid, but if you go into a dungeon crawl, as you go through the run, it will get progressively more difficult as well. AKA there will be more enemies, potentially less ways to kill, potentially more obstacles, stuff like that. But that means that you have to really understand the game's mechanics and to have practiced to be able to fend off a variety of different situations. This is very much an adaptivity and RNG heavy game. So if that is not your thing, I don't recommend this. But if it is your thing, I think this game is really, really great for that. It really tests your skill in being able to go ahead and look at a situation right away, figure out what's going on, and be able to adapt to it on the fly. All right, and then I'm going to talk about one more thing we're seeing, which are the items on the ground. There are a bunch of different items in this game, including coins, which give you gold, which you can spend in the shop, which again, we'll talk about later. Gems are the same, except for they give you 5 coins instead of just 1. And these dice will give you re-roll in the shop as well. Again, we're not going into the shop, so that doesn't matter. There are a couple of other item types as well that I'll discuss when we see them in Dungeon Crawl, but just know that those are usually good for you. If it's got a red glow, it will hurt you, or if it's a hole, or if it's spike, you know, stuff like that. But but if it doesn't, then it is probably a positive thing for you to run into. You can also actually shoot enemies into items, and they will collect the items as well. If they collect a coin and you kill them, you get that coin. Same with dice and keys, which again, we'll see later. But not for health. There is a health pickup as well. They don't do that for the health pickup. But again, we'll see that in DC later. So, now that we've gotten all of that sort of addressed, let's go ahead and see how the gameplay actually works. So I'm going to identify an enemy I want to kill. Let's go ahead and kill this one. Also, you can take a look at my shot counter up here. It's going to go down by 1 once I shoot. I have aimed at this enemy such that this white line is going to go right into the hole like I want it. Then, and I've done that, by the way, by holding down right click and moving around the screen. Then I'm going to click left click. You can see that there's a little blue ring that's going up and down around me. And what does that mean? Well, essentially, this is your shot power for the shot. You can see that you have a number up here that corresponds to bonus shot power on each shot, but you're also able to toggle it on every shot. The lower that the blue is, the less power your shot's going to have, and the higher, the more power. So since this is a pretty close range shot, I want the power to be just kind of middle. So I'm going to go like that. Perfect. So there you saw the enemy went into the hole, and then an item of mine activated. We're going to talk about items more when we go into the shop later. But you will have items sometimes that will activate after you shoot. You also have some items that are just always on, or items that will activate in the shop. But there's 110 items in this game. They all do different things. So once again, please check out that glossary if you want to get really in depth on the items in this game. I do highly recommend it. But you can also just learn by play as well. Yep, and now I'm going to go ahead and shoot this enemy into the trap to show you how that works. Oh, and see how I didn't use quite enough shot power? That's kind of the thing about shot power, is that you have to make sure that you have enough at any given time. The enemy also changed nature because I actually hit it with that dice that was orbiting around me. If an enemy gets hit with a dice, then it will turn into a different kind of enemy. And let's talk about enemy types for a second real quick in that vein. So these are normies down here. The enemy I killed at the beginning of the level was also a normie. They have no special abilities or anything like that. They're the same as anything else. These ones with swords spinning around them are called swordies. The sword will do a damage to you if you touch it, but you can see that it's spinning around, so you can potentially avoid that. This pushy increases the speed of any balls that touch it. So you have to be kind of careful to not bounce back into obstacles when you defeat this guy. And the reason that we didn't have enough shot power to kill this guy is because it turned into a sticky. And a sticky decreases your shot power for the next turn by 10% when you touch it. And there's a lot of enemy types in this game as well. There's not nearly as many as there are items, but there are quite a few. There's quite a few that we are not seeing here. And there's also the entire category of boss enemies that I'll go into more in the DC section. So once again, there's going to be an enemies glossary in that document that I mentioned. That's linked down below or in the Twitch chat. So check that out if you want to kind of get the rundown or just, again, learn as you play. All right, let's go ahead and try that again. There we go. Nice and easy. So you can see now that these switchers, I suppose, went down. So now I could shoot through here if I wanted to. I don't want to, though. But I have to be aware that if I'm on top of these holes, when the next turn happens, I'm going to get a damage. So I'm going to try not to do that. Now I'm going to shoot this pushy into a volatile spike. So this spike is actually special. This is a normal spike right here. Does a damage to you and will kill enemies. But it also doesn't disappear when you put an enemy or yourself into it. But this volatile spike will actually go ahead and shoot out of the wall. And it may actually kill other enemies as it goes after you touch it. So let's see what happens. Oof. So unfortunately that volatile spike just missed these normies, but you can see what it may have done if it hit them. Yeah, and then we're just gonna play out the rest of this raid. You can see there I used a little bit more shot power in order to get across the map. You have to be careful to do that. I'm gonna try to kill this normie by bouncing from this normie. Very nice. Unfortunately, there I also received a damage because I accidentally shot into the sortie. But an item of mine called Retaliation shot a mini ball out and killed him instead. Again, don't worry about that. There's a ton of items in this game. It's way too hard to, for me to list out what all of them do right now and for you to know what they all do immediately. Check out that document or read the compendium in the game itself or just learn as you play. No need to stress out about it too much. The basic mechanics are what's important. All right, finally, we have 5 out of our 11 shots left, only 1 guy to kill, and most of our health left, so it's looking pretty good. But unfortunately, I don't have a direct shot from this guy to pretty much anything to kill, so I'm going to reposition myself. This is a strat you can do in the game. You don't have to hit an enemy every turn. You can kind of just do a shot that makes it easier for you to do your next shot. Just like that. All clear, I win. So that's what a raid looks like. You're able to play raids in a certain category that we have on SRC called 1 to 20 difficulty gauntlet that I went over before, but there's no category for a single raid by its own yet. But again, if people are interested, run it, tell us, we might add it to the boards. But for now, we're gonna go through a dungeon crawl run. We're gonna do it a little bit slow so that I can explain what's happening on screen, and then I'm going to go through a full speed one so that you can see sort of how those go. And dungeon crawl is the sort of basic run of this game, basically. It's the standard from which everything else is judged, essentially. So this is the category I would recommend you start with. If you have not played this game as a speed game, highly recommend starting out with dungeon crawl and seeing how you like it. It will also help prepare you for all challenges, because all challenges is basically a 10-run gauntlet of dungeon crawls with twists. Each of these is a bit of a different twist on a dungeon crawl. I'll go through them at the end after the dungeon crawl to sort of just explain what they are and some general strategy tips for them and some general strategy tips for all challenges as a whole. But first, I think we should understand how a dungeon crawl works before that. All right. So you would want to select Dungeon Crawl here, or Crawl, the full 10-level dungeon gauntlet, and whichever difficulty and speed setting, of course, you're going to play it at. We're going to be playing at 2x7 speed right now. So let's go ahead and start. Timing starts when the shop comes up. Welcome to the shop. So the shop's going to have a couple of different elements. First off, you can see still your health bar, your amount of shots, your gold, and your shot power, and all of that can be changed within the shop. So be sure to pay attention to how much of all of this you have throughout the run so that you can more easily navigate the shop once you get into it. So the main features of the shop, besides that, are the 3 items that come up here, and the things you can always buy down here. The perma-buy items are rerolls. So rerolling will go ahead and change all 3 items up here into something different. You get 2 free at the start of every dungeon crawl run, and you can get more for free by taking certain items or by picking up the dice on the ground in the levels. But you can also buy them once you've gotten rid of the free ones. They cost 1 more sequentially each time you buy one in a certain visit to the shop. Or you can pay 3 health to heal 1. So this is really the main use of gold that we have in this run, is to make sure that we are always able to heal as much as we need to continue playing. So how good a gold item should be judged kind of how much healing it can give you each level, and can it give you more than 1 health? Because if it can give you on average more than 1 health, that's quite good. So for example, if an item can give you 5 money per, or gold per level, that's much better than if an item gives you 2 per level. So if you're trying to judge yourself how good a gold item is, healing is kind of the standard by which we judge that by. However, there are other things to spend your money on, like shots. So this is a really, really important concept, especially in Dungeon Crawl. The level that you're in, except for the final level, will always end when you run out of shots. It will not end necessarily if you don't take out... It'll end even if you don't take out all of the enemies on screen. It will just end when you run out of shots, except for the final level. You can take out all of the enemies on screen, and doing so does end the level, and that can be faster than running out all of your shots in different ways. However, you do not have to kill all of the enemies in a level except for the final one, as long as you are to survive. This means that you should not buy shots. You genuinely should not buy shots in a dungeon crawl run until the final level, because in the final level, you must kill all of the enemies. So having more shots there is good for safety. However, before that, there is no need to buy shots, and you should not buy shots in the vast majority of cases. There's also one item that gives you more shots as well. I do not recommend taking that until the final level, or maybe the second to last level or something if you see it there. Yeah. So shots are also expensive. It takes 10 to buy your first one, and then it goes up 10 in price every single time. So buying shots at the end, you kind of have to have a surplus of money to be able to do, but that can definitely happen if you take the right items. Shot power, this will give you 5% shot power. Shot power is very much up to the individual how much they want to prioritize that in their run. Shot power does make your ball go faster, and it can make certain shots possible, like long shots from across the entire playing field, or certain angled shots are going to be better or easier if you have more shot power. So it's completely up to you. Play around with the game, see if you like getting more shot power or not. However, it's a little bit expensive to get in the shop, and there's much easier ways to get shot power from items oftentimes, so we usually don't buy power, even if you are going for shot power. And then finally, this is a get a random item box. The cost increases per item bought, but it resets the next level. It kind of depends on who you are for this one as well, whether you're going to buy them in dungeon crawl runs. I personally don't, but I do know of runners that do. Of course, $15 is kind of a lot of gold, actually. So it really is kind of the play if you have so much gold that you're willing to just roll the dice, because a lot of items are at least neutral, if not good for your run. So random items are usually, on average, pretty good. There are a couple items that could really, really hurt you if you get in a speedrun setting, but only a few. Generally, most items in this game are at least neutral, if not good. So it may be worth it, but it's also a lot of gold. So it's up to you to decide, basically. So usually when you come into the shop, your first thing to do is going to be buying up to full with gold, if you can, for health. However, there are some items that will heal you actively, and some items that will heal you under certain conditions. So for example, there's an item called Materialist that heals you 1 health when you get an item. So it might be good to remember if you have that and not buy up to full, but you generally want to buy health so that you're not accidentally going into the next level without health and then you die. Not good. And then you're gonna want to look at your items on screen. Eventually, over time, you'll just get a good feel for looking at them right away and being able to choose which one you'd rather have. But of course, at the beginning, you're gonna need to kind of consider them a little bit, figure out which one you want, and if there's really nothing on screen that you want, you can reroll. I am going to reroll for this set because there's nothing that I want to see on the screen. Oh, wow. And I've just come up on the best item in the whole game, which is Make 'em Count. And as I said before, because the level ends when you run out of shots, not necessarily when you've defeated all the enemies, Make 'em Count, losing 2 shots, that's fast. Even though it's dangerous, it is fast. There's a lot of risk-reward trade-off in this game. So I am going to take Make 'em Count just to show you how a Make 'em Count run works, because it's really, really valuable for getting fast times, this item. But there are also other good items to pick. For example, Pacifist almost always gives you 3 gold in a single level, because it says once per level if you did not touch any enemies in a turn, which you usually do. You usually have at least a shot or 2 to reposition yourself in a level that doesn't touch any enemies. So this generally gives you 1 health per level. That's kind of how you judge it. Remember, gold kind of means health-ish. All right, once you've selected the item that you want, you can go ahead and click it and it'll get this green. And you can see that that X down here turned into this little portal. And that tells you that you are ready to go to the next level. You can also always click this I to see what the next level looks like. I almost never do this because it's just kind of slow to do it in the heat of a run, but it's a mechanic that's there. All right, now that I've picked my thing. Oh, also there's a bonus on this item. Sometimes you get a little bonus. Sometimes it's healing, sometimes it's shot power, sometimes it's even gaining the item twice. This is mostly random. If you get an item called Lucky Horseshoe, which we just saw before, it's more likely, but you know, you take them when you can get them, right? All right, and then let's go into the first level. Oh, I actually am gonna get a second item. I forgot, because Make 'em Count makes you lose 2 shots, but you gain an additional item picks each level. So we're gonna go ahead and look at these. Frenzy is the best item out of all of these because it both gives you shot power and 5 gold if you defeat multiple enemies in the same turn, which you're going to be doing often as a runner. So I like it. Let's go on ahead. And then I'm going to play this almost at full speed because we already showed a level on the raid, and I kind of want to just show you what playing looks like. So here's a good example of a repositioning shot. I didn't really need to kill any enemies that shot, because I still have shots left. And let's try to sync this. Awesome. For the first level in your run, you most of the time do want to kill all of the enemies on screen, because usually that will take 8 or fewer shots, just like it did there, and that does save time. However, as you go through the dungeon crawl, there will be more enemies, so you might change that risk reward later. I'm going to choose Black Hole here. Black Hole is part of a set of items I like to call kill options, and there's kind of like 6-ish broad categories of items that I've identified that will help you sort of distinguish between item types. Kill options is maybe the most complex. It essentially means this item gives you more ways to kill enemies in a level. And that, I think, is really, really valuable because it allows you to more easily go ahead and take enemies out, which is good for both health and for going fast if you are able to kill all of the enemies in a level and in the final level. So Black Holes gives you another kill option because it says each level, one time when you fall into a hole, you pull the closest enemy towards you. That is another kill option. The other sort of categories of items are health. So these are items that either increase your max health or heal you, or both. Very, very important to look out for those items because they help you stay safe and not die throughout the run. Another category is safety, which motion sickness actually belongs to. These items either prevent you from taking damage in the first place under certain conditions, or they will prevent you from dying. There's one item in this game called the Ankh that is very, very important because it prevents you from dying. That belongs to that. Then kill options. Kill options can include things like Black Hole that just kind of give you another option, or items that can increase the amount of spikes that you're going to see in a level, items that can increase explosions, items that can increase mini balls, stuff like that all belongs to kill options. Again, all listed in the document. There's also shot power items. Pretty straightforward. This is a shot power item, Ricochet, here. Reroll items. Items that just, you know, give you rerolls. And gold items. That's the other main category. Items that give you gold. Gold items are the most plentiful in this game, so make sure to know kind of your hierarchy of gold items, because those are the most easily ranked, you know, amongst each other. How much gold do you on average get per level is the metric for gold items most of the time, and that's pretty easy to distinguish. And then finally, there are some items that don't fall under anything. For example, make them count, like we have, is a miscellaneous item, because losing 2 shots and gaining 1 item per level doesn't really fall under any of the other things I've just mentioned. So yeah, that's kind of how you delineate between items. And then within those categories, there are some items that are better than others. So black hole is actually quite good, so I'm going to take that. And then these are all perfectly fine items. Nothing here is particularly good. I'll take Rusher here, because, well, no, I'm not going to take Rusher, because Rusher actually has anti-synergy with Make 'em Count, because it's good if you have shots left over at the end of the level, and of course we're not going to. So I'll do Priority and Delivery. Collectibles are the things on the ground, so like gems or health pickups or whatever. Alright, so here's a special enemy that I actually really want to talk about. This is a Culty. So it spawns a normal enemy in a random position when it's defeated. So a Culty kind of is 2 enemies in 1. Which means that it's actually quite inefficient to kill. So for most levels, except for the final level, or maybe the first and second level, even though this is the second level, I have Make 'em Count, so I'm just going to kind of ignore it, unless it's still alive at the end and I have time to kill, literally. You can see that that enemy just went into this teleporter, and because it didn't have enough momentum to get out of the range of the next teleporter, it stayed in the teleporter and died at the beginning of the next round. That is a niche way to kill enemies, but it exists. So there you go. You go ahead and do this. You can also sort of like strategically plan out your shots such that you're going to be in the area of another ball to kill after your previous kill, oftentimes. Oop. Unfortunately there, I well overshot my mark, but that's okay. We killed almost everything except for the Culty here, which was fine. You can see that we got 1 damage there after that. And normally I would go ahead and click this heal button because I have 10 gold and I can heal. However, I am seeing this tincture that I have available, which says heal 2 now and at the start of each level. This is a really, really good health item. This is one of the best in the game. It just ensures your safety a lot of the time. You don't have to worry about having enough gold. And as I said before, any excess gold that you have can be spent in the final level on shots. So it's good to save gold anyways. And then here, Duality you should never take. This is one of the few items in the game that is just not worth it for speedrunning, because it makes you take more damage. Bombs is kind of a personal preference, whether how much you like it or not. They can give you extra kill options by kind of exploding enemies and making them go everywhere, but I like Spiky Tect. Spiky Tect is a really reliable choice here. It just gives you more wall spikes, more kill options. This is another kill options item. Once again, kill options is fast. You can see this key over here, this gold key. I want to talk about it real quick. This gives you 1 additional item pick in the next shop. The vast majority of the time, you do want more item picks, even though it takes a little while to select. After a while, you're going to get super fast with selecting items, and items are usually more worth it than not. So if you are able to conveniently get a key in the level, I do recommend it. Unfortunately, here it's a little bit inconvenient. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. I also want to talk about this enemy here. This enemy is called a Rocky. It is hard to push around, so you're going to need to make sure you have more shot power when you go for these guys. So there, I barely killed it, even with super, super high shot power. So you can see how hard that is to do. Unfortunately, there I overshot the black hole, or the hole a little bit. Oop. There I ran into a little thing on the ground called a stop. And that stopped me in my tracks. So here I'm going to go ahead and go for that item pick. I gambled on not running into the spike, but I did anyway. That's okay. We can go ahead and kill one more guy. And then we're all the way, we were all the way down to 3 health, but luckily our tincture heals us 2 every single level, so we don't have to worry that much. And here I have found a really, really special item. Trinity is really, really special. I'm happy to see all of these item picks come up here because we have some really important items in the game being shown off in this playthrough. Trinity will let you multiply the next item that you get by 3, and then it goes away. So this can be used to get some really amazing effects. I highly recommend clicking Trinity almost every time you see it. If it's along with Make 'em Count, then maybe you pick Make 'em Count instead. But that's kind of about it. Trinity is a very, very high tier item. And then now that I've got Trinity here, I can confirm this item pick because I have 2 more to go. I have 2 more because of that, that key that I collected. Oh, Trinity doesn't do anything, so you should not click Trinity after you click Trinity. It's tempting, but don't do it. Here we have Beanstalk. So Beanstalk is actually a pretty good item. It gives you a max health and heal 1, and gives you a shot power and 5 gold. So that's a lot of great stuff, but it spawns 2 more rocky enemies in the next level. So if I were to take it now, this would spawn 6 more rocky enemies in the next level. I would be very unlikely to survive that, so I'm not going to do that. This is the one thing that you have to be very careful about with Trinity, is that there are some items with serious drawbacks that you have to avoid. Like taking 1 copy of Beanstalk is not that big a deal. But taking 3, you don't want to do it in the same level. Hidden Stash. Each level gain 5 gold when you fall into the hole for the first time. I really like this item because I'm often clicking so frantically that I'm not avoiding holes super religiously. So that's a lot of gold per level. 5 gold per level is a pretty high average. And multiplying this by 3 would be pretty good, but I kind of want to see what we're gonna get. There's nothing here I particularly want. All right. So the chain is a pretty good item. It says when you touch multiple enemies in the same turn, gain 1 gold per enemy touched, which is pretty good. But I'm gonna try my luck. And now we've got Tincture 3 times. And so it depends on how much you want to go ahead and go for rerolls. They can, you know, really change how you do a level. But now I have times for Tincture, which means that if I survive a level on 1 health, I will always get healed up to full with the amount of max health that I have now, which is pretty cool. Which means that I can go ahead and go for a Beanstalk. There we go. Because I just have to survive. Here. Ah, this is a really important enemy type to talk about. This Shooty shoots a mini ball that vanishes after the turn towards you at the end of each turn. So this compounds basically. Every shot that you make during a level with a Shooty on the screen will cost you extra time. And he will often also destroy your positioning. So oftentimes you shoot with sort of an end position in mind for your ball. The Shooty really messes that up. So I'm going to try to kill it right now. And I did successfully. Thank goodness. That's one I would say you always have to watch for at the beginning of levels. Shooties are probably the worst enemy type in this game. So, you know, you want to make sure you're being very vigilant about that. Oop. Unfortunately there, I did take a damage, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and kill this one. And I have to make sure I'm being careful to survive, because otherwise I don't. Oh, also this enemy type, called the Toxie, deals 1 damage to you when you touch it, but it also evaporates immediately. So this is basically a net 0. So I just ignore it unless I'm going to be killing everything on screen. Let's go ahead and see if we can get that into a hole. So if you could see there was a little bit of sort of magnetism to the holes, and they sort of have that. They kind of like draw things in that are close. So be careful for that. Oh, another S tier item, Trapper. This is a really, really good item. It's both a safety option and a kill options item. It makes it so that you don't get damage from traps, and it gives the level 2 extra traps. So this is really, really convenient. I would recommend taking Trapper almost every time you see it. Oh! Well, would you look at that? Even though I don't get that benefit from being immune to traps again, I just already have it when I get another copy of Trapper, I do go ahead and get 2 more traps in the level, which is great. Okay, a couple things to talk about here. First off, this is the 5th level in a dungeon crawl, which means it's the mini boss level. You can see this 8 ball over here. This is called a boss enemy. Every boss, the vast majority of boss enemies will have variants, and this one has a variant as well. It has a 30% chance to blind me every turn, which means I don't see this little arrow. So if there are turns in this this particular level that go like that, that's why. The special feature of a boss enemy is that you cannot kill it until every single other enemy in the level is defeated. So when you're at this mini boss level, only this one, I would say completely ignore the boss unless it's very convenient to kill it. And the last one, there's also going to be a boss level on the final level of this run. And that one, you do want to also not try to kill until you've killed everything else, but you don't want to ignore it. You want to keep it in mind. But for this one, I would say actively ignore it unless it's convenient to kill later. Robbie. The Robbies are kind of cool because they will evaporate immediately upon touch if you have 1 gold for them to steal. And that's really not that bad. 1 gold per enemy dead is fine, because if you heal 3 and it was left alive at 3, that's kind of a 2 gold bargain. So I do like to go for the Robbies. There we go. And that's what it looks like in action. Here you can see that I am blind. It doesn't show me my projection, so I just have to be good. I was not good. That's okay. It happens. I was hoping to position things a little bit better here, but that's okay. If you do really, really high shot power, you can do shots like that kind of go on the edge a little bit easier of guys. So here I'm going to go ahead and blast this into a spike. Let's go ahead and reposition myself. Also, this little tower here, once I touch it, is going to shoot a bomb out, so that's kind of interesting. And there we go. All done. Okay, this is another item I want to talk about. Mad Doctor rounds down your health every level. Don't take it. It's not a good item. Highly recommend not taking that one. Both of these other ones are fine, and I don't want to take a ton of time deciding. So I'm going to click Magnet. And then Vampire Survivor is another really high tier item. This one heals you 1 every time you spike an enemy, so that just means killing it with a spike. So that's really good for safety and for healing up. You don't even have to buy all the health in a shop if you have something like Vampire Survivor, which can be good for saving time in the shop. That's kind of a high tier move, but it's a move nonetheless. I'm gonna do something cool here. Ah, it didn't quite hit the trap. I was hoping it would hit the trap. Did not. That's okay. Good news is because of Make 'em Count, we're already done. I'm gonna go ahead and take the chain here. And then I'll take Spike Shield. Spike Shield is a good kill options item. After you take damage, it gives you a spike around you. So that helps kill stuff faster. That's good. So this enemy, called a Guardy, will shoot itself towards you if you touch another enemy first. So this one actually can kill itself. There are 2 enemies in the game that I would say you don't have to really go for killing right away, and the Guardy is one of them. Even though it does cost some time per level usually, it most often either kills itself or brings itself into nice position to kill itself. So it's not too bad, to be honest. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Nice, so that spike you can see, do that. But it was the most convenient kill there, so I just took it. Here, I think it would be hard to do any of these, so I'm just going to take a repositioning shot and get the most out of my final shots in this level. And then we're done. All right. Wealthy Assassin is one of the best gold items in the game because if you defeat multiple enemies in the same turn, which again you do pretty often in a regular run, you get 10 gold, which is a very high amount of gold. Okay, here's that item I was talking about earlier that gives you an extra shot. I'm not going to take extra bullet right now because there's still 2 more levels to go, and I have plenty of gold to buy more shots. However, if you didn't have a lot of gold, or if you didn't have as much safety as I do in this run, I would recommend taking an extra bullet on level 8. That's good. Instead, I'm going to click Gourmand. Rich Collector is also really good here, but I have enough money, so I'm okay with that. But Rich Collector gives you 1 item for each item, 1 gold for each item you own right now, plus 5, which of course late game is a lot of money. Gourmand is really nice though, because when you're at full health, which I'm going to be every time in this run, collecting 1 healing pickup each level will increase your max health by 1, which is really nice. The healing pickups are the little green things on the ground. They're little green pluses. You can actually force more of those to spawn with certain items, but we haven't seen any this run yet. But I like that item, so I'm just going to take it. It's oftentimes a little bit up to personal preference and specific situation how that works out. I ran into a little cluster of mini balls there. That's what they do. This is the enemy that deals you 2 health if it's alive at the end of the run. So I prioritize beasties oftentimes when I see them. Very good. And now we're just going to play the rest of this level out. That's unfortunate. Sometimes if you hit an enemy with too much shot power, nice job, black hole there, you'll actually get it to skip over the hole a little bit. Oof. Very nice. So you have to be careful of that possibility and account for it. All right, second to last level. So here's that item I was talking about before, Materialist. It's not quite as good now because we're so late in the run and we have all these tinctures, but I will take Broccoli because this gives me a max health and heals me 1. So it's just a free extra health. Awesome stuff. And then here I'm going to click this item called Paid Leave. This is a safety item that removes all the coins and gems for a current level. I have quite enough coins, but also random enemies. So this is great for time save. We like Paid Leave a lot. You should generally take Paid Leave, even if you don't have a ton of money. It's just a good idea. Yeah, once again, the sort of like tier list for the items can be found in the document that is linked just about everywhere. Wherever you're going to be watching this. Nice. Yeah, make sure to practice your ricochets and stuff like that for potential kills. Okay, here's the final level. We're going to talk a lot about the final level here because it's kind of the most important part of the run. You will often lose runs here. So be super, super careful. Once again, in the final level, and I'm going to click this little eye here to see what we're dealing with, you're going to have to kill all the enemies on screen, including the boss enemy. And remember, the boss enemy has to be the final enemy that you kill. So you have to plan to kill every single other one beforehand. That means you both can't run out of health before you do that, and you can't run out of shots plus health in the level. What's going to happen is even if you run out of shots, you're going to get 1 shot every time, but you are also going to get damaged as if it was the end of the level. So if, for example, I still had the boss level and boss enemy and this Toxie alive at the end of 8 shots, I would get 2 damage dealt to me and then have another shot, and then 2 damage and then another shot. That's slow because the damage animation actually takes a long time, so you really want to prevent that if you can. So I'm going to buy as many shots as I can get right now. You can see I was able to buy 5 shots there with the amount of money that I had. I would also heal up to full, of course, if I had healing to do. And then first, I would do that first, and then I would buy as many shots as I can buy. So that will help me survive. And then the item picking is also really unique here because you really don't care about things that give you gold or anything like that anymore. You just care about things that are going to help you survive the level and maybe kill everybody faster. Parasite is a little slow, unfortunately, because it's at the end of each turn. It's a random mini ball. That's not very fast. So I'm gonna re-roll for something else. The gang is all right. It's after the first turn in every level, you shoot 8 mini balls around you 1 time. So that doesn't take a lot of time loss, and the 8 mini balls are pretty likely to do something good for you. So I'll take the gang. And then here, I'm gonna take Spyglass. Spyglass is really nice because it increases your trajectory prediction by 50%. That's that extra bonus white arrow. This is a really solid item. I highly recommend clicking Spyglass when you see it. It also gives more shot power, which is gonna be neat. So you can see how this white arrow is longer than it was before. Pretty great. All right. The gang didn't do a ton for me, but it did reposition some enemies to be a little better, so not the worst. There I had to do a repositioning shot, unfortunately. Ooh, that was unlucky. Here, I am going to do this shot. I hope that I can time the spike correctly. I did, to be able to kill that guy. So that's how an item like Spike Shield can be really, really useful. Stuff like that. Here, unfortunately, I have to do a repositioning shot. As we mentioned before, Toxies do get killed on impact. They just also do you damage, but for here, that's totally fine. I don't really care. I just want enough damage, enough to be able to survive. Here, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a repositioning shot because this stoppy, which had a stop sign floating around it, but it's gone now, was up against the corner in a bad spot. But now I can just dunk it right in there. Unfortunately, this 8-ball is the variant that shoots mini balls, so it repositioned itself badly there. So we're gonna have to reposition it right back. All right, let's see if we can go ahead and deal the final blow here. We only have one more shot, but once again, that doesn't mean it's over. Ah, not quite. I was hoping that the black hole, or that the hole would just catch it. It didn't. That's okay. We can finish it off ourselves. And there we go. That's the run. 86 shots, not very much. That's what Make 'em Count will do for you. All right, that was a super, super slow DC where I talked about a lot of stuff. Your runs are not going to look like that. But I wanted to kind of go through all the thought processes that you might go through, and all of the mechanics that might be relevant in a, in a given run of DC. Now I'm going to play one at full speed, just so that y'all can see how it looks. Once again, this is going to be a 2x speed, 7 difficulty dungeon crawl. Let's start. So you can see here I'm prioritizing aiming really fast, even if it might not kill the enemy. The shot that I do. I want to just make sure I'm gone. Right. And then here I'm going to avoid this item. Balancing act is really bad. Heal as much as I can. Pick an item. Here I deduced that I was going to be able to kill all of the enemies on screen faster than I was going to be able to run out of shots, so I killed that Toxie. And then a quick mirror here. Mirror lets the enemies sort of move on their own every so often, which is really good for kill options. I do recommend that item. I was hoping that that trajectory would be better. And remember that those tentacle guys do 2 damage. Instead of 1 at the end of the level, so they are good to prioritize killing if you're not going to kill everything, which I am not going to here. All done. We're back to Black Hole. Here I am not taking a ton of gold items, which I should be slightly worried about. You want to take at least a couple gold items if you can at the beginning. Oh, that little angry red enemy, go ahead and go back to see it, if you're not watching live, will come at you at the end of each shot, which oftentimes gets itself killed. So that's another one that I don't prioritize killing first very often. So it will often kill itself. Oh, see that mirror activated there? So it kind of repositioned itself. Oh, the black hole really screwed me there. That's kind of funny. Because it brought the enemy closer, but didn't actually pull it in. Herbalist is good because it makes it so that the level has 2 extra healing pickups. These little green things on the ground here. Helps you live more often. And once again, we're in our little boss enemies era. Oh yeah, if an enemy picks up the healing pickups, like it unfortunately did right there, it will get big. Yeah, here we have kind of a mess of enemies that are all up against obstacles. Not ideal. That's okay. We repositioned ourselves somewhat effectively to be able to deal with that. Oof. Not quite the right angle there, but we can kill this Rocky at least. Oh, got unlucky there. Okay, close, but no cigar. I would normally pick Trapper here, but I'm gonna click Spike Swallower instead because we're kind of down on what's it called? Ooh, almost got a kill from Mirror there. Kind of down on health a little bit. Yeah, it's good to pick up the gems when you can, because they give you 5 gold, which is quite a bit of gold. Nice. And remember, Spike Swallower actually heals you when you click a spike, or when you touch a spike. So that's pretty good. Not quite the right angle for that. Nice black hole, though. Really, the value of kill options there. That was unfortunate, but I can go ahead and get that health pickup. And since I can't kill any enemies with that last shot, I'm just gonna burn it. Hidden Stash, again, is a usually pretty reliable 5 gold, and Impaler gives you a nice little spike that rotates around. So that's oftentimes very good. Alright. There I shot near the spike, knowing that I was going to get a health back from it. Yeah, the unfortunate thing about this enemy is that it does cost a little bit of time each level. And we did unfortunately feel the effects there. And nothing much to be done there, so I just burned a shot. Okay. Not really much good here. I will go ahead and take a paid leave. After a reroll. Alright, there we go. Yeah, you can see how those enemies just kind of dealt with themselves using items. That's why kill options is so important. There I didn't ricochet into the ball because I killed it with a spike before I could do that. Here, I'm just going to reposition everything. Make it easier. Oh, unlucky. Generally quite unlucky. That one. Alright. There's nothing we could really do there. That's okay. And last one here. So I'm going to get an extra shot. And I'm going to go ahead and click Mirror to try to win the challenge easier. Nice black hole. And here, you know what? I'm gonna do an example of something. I'm gonna burn shots. First of all, Mirror might just finish this level for me. But I'm gonna burn shots until I'm done with them. Yep, okay. That's okay. Also, that was sort of a PB, technically. Not really. I just don't play this particular category very much. And I play 6x more. But time ends the moment that this victory screen comes up, so that was a 641. All right. That's about it. I will talk about one more thing, but the DC is really the heart and soul of this game. If you can figure out how to play it well, then that's going to be really good for you. But I'm going to go ahead and give a quick rundown of all the challenges, because if you wanted to play all challenges or each of these challenges individually, there's space for those on the boards as well. You can check out the category overview in that Google Doc right there to sort of get more information on this. But each of these challenges has their own little gimmick. Explosives Expert gives you bigger explosions, but they don't affect you, but they instantly defeat enemies and destroy obstacles, and you get extra enemies per level. So that's just kind of like an explosive fest. And items that interact with explosions change here. Once again, more info on that in the document. Picky Klutz, you gain 1 item per level, but you lose 5 gold and a random item at the end of each level. So for this one, because you're going to lose items, you can't really count on any particular item to stay with you for all that long. Thank you for the follow. So a strategy here is just to like get a lot of items through various means, and just try to pick as much as you can, and yeah, just have a lot of fodder, so that one disappearing per level doesn't really count against you very much. And you can also click multiple items of an important type. So like Trapper, as we discussed before, makes you immune to traps, but if you lost Trapper, you'd lose that ability, so you could pick multiple Trappers. There are also certain items that give you permanent buffs, and those don't go away. So for example, any item that gives you max health would actually not go away. The max health would not go away, even if the item itself did, like Beanstalk or Broccoli. So, you know, keeping those things in mind is important for Piggy Glutts. Drunken Master, you start with +3 shots and +3 health, but there's a 20% chance for your shot to go backwards. So this one is the most unintuitive, I would say, for runners, because you really don't expect, if you play other categories in this game, for the ball to not go where you shoot it. So this one takes a lot of practice to kind of get adjusted to, and it's also hard to go ahead and go on to another challenge after that because you get really adjusted to it. But I highly recommend kill options items, especially Mirror that we showed off, but also other items like Telekinesis, Scarecrow, and Retaliation that sort of help enemies kill themselves instead of you having to kill them here, because you're not always going to be able to kill everything. Also, highly recommend extra prepping for the final level in this one, because if you just get bad luck and that 20% chance keeps activating on the final level, you might lose a lot of health. So yeah. Big Spender. You gain 15 gold at the start of each level, but you lose all gold when leaving the shop. So this one is basically like you can't stock up a bunch of money over time. You can gain gold in levels, so like items, items like Hidden Stash, that one gives you 5 gold per going into a hole. You know, you might still take something like that, but for the most part, gold items are not as important here, and you just want to like make sure you're killing things most efficiently, because 15 gold also translates to 5 health, so that's pretty safe. And then Berserk, you start with plus 220 shot power, but lose 30% shot power at the end of each level. So this one, you start with a ton of shot power, and your ball is going to kind of go everywhere. So you have to be really careful to not die, but then you're going to lose so much that you actually get negative at the end. So you kind of want to be taking shot power items more than usual here. That extra emphasis will be on shot power and safety and health, instead of kill options for this one. Bouncy Land. All obstacles are bouncy. The outer walls of the level are more bouncy. Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. I just recommend practicing this one. This one, you might get some more incidental damage, but you also might kill enemies faster. So maybe just prioritize safety and health a little bit more, but like generally just practice. Have fun with it. Veteran Hunter. All enemies are special. There are no normies, but you gain 2 gold for defeating a special enemy. So this means you get 2 gold per enemy killed in this one, which will make you rich really, really fast. This uses an item called Big Game Hunter, by the way, which is a really, really high tier gold item. Highly recommend taking that anytime you see it, except for if it's the final level or the very end of your DC. But anyways, yeah, you're gonna be really, really rich in this one. So just use that to your advantage. Try to get items that are under that kill options category a lot more than you would in other times here. However, also be cognizant that special enemies are harder to kill and may do you more damage, and especially be on the lookout for those ones that shoot you, because they're really slow and they can make levels really, really hard to clear. Second Wind. You start with only 4 shots, but you gain +1 shot for every enemy you defeat. Note in the last level, you will not gain more shots once you reach 0. So, this one's basically, if you can kill them, you get infinite shots. So for Second Wind, you actually do have to be practiced with killing all of the enemies, or at least being aware of your health meter and making sure that you can take whatever damage is still on the screen before you burn your final shots. That's already an important skill in DC, but it's especially important in Second Wind, because in Second Wind you basically control exactly when you run out, unless there's a level where you actually can't kill a lot of guys, and that's hard to do. But yeah, Second Wind is important to practice. Gang Leader. You start with many items that create mini balls and gain gold for creating them, but you can't gain gold any other way. That does mean can't. So do not pick gold items in this run. Just straight up don't. Yeah. And because mini balls give you more gold, you could pick more mini balls items, but you already start with a bunch of mini balls items in this one. So honestly, I think for this level, just go for kill options. And health if you see some good stuff for health and safety. But just go on a frenzy with kill options for gang leader, in my opinion. And then finally, Spiky Gauntlet. Every level is filled with volatile spikes, which are the ones that shoot off from the wall. You take 1 more damage from touching spikes. That is super dangerous. This is a really, really easy level to die in. Or an easy challenge to die in. So for this one, I would say really focus on those health and safety items. Take a kill options 1 or 2 if you see them and they're really good. But otherwise, health and safety. For all of these challenges as well, there can be some pretty profound interactions with items in the game. So for example, Spiky Gauntlet, you don't want to take the item Spiky Tect, which gives you 2 more spikes per level because there's already the max amount of spikes per level in this challenge. Stuff like that is also already elaborated on in the Google document, so I highly recommend checking that out. I am going to do an all challenges run on stream after this, but I'm not going to be including it as part of the tutorial, but I highly recommend watching a run on SRC if you want to get a feel for it, or, you know, whatever, wherever you can find an all challenges run. But yeah, I want to cap it here. I want to make sure this is sort of short and sweet. And that's kind of my little rundown of the challenges. I highly recommend the challenges, by the way. They're super fun. They're especially fun to play all together, I think, but they're also really fun to play in a single challenge setting. You're going to want to take different approaches. Oops. See, here's an example of Spiky Tech, by the way. I have a level in Spiky Tech. You're going to want to take a bit of a different approach if you're doing all challenges because you're doing them all back to back. So you might want to focus on safety a little more. Whereas if you're just doing a single challenge, you can reset quicker. So you might just want to try to rush through it. But yeah, that's about all I have to say, I think. I will remind all of you to check out the caption for this video. There's a lot of really important links there. Or if you're watching live, go ahead and click that document in the pinned comment. Go ahead and leave any comments if you have any questions or just things to say. You can also come find us at our Discord. That's another link down in the description, and ask us questions. Our SRC page is, you know, fully decked out. I made it pretty, and has runs on there that for you to see right now, if you want to go ahead and get a feel for how a run looks. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial very much. I enjoyed making it. I've been Satan herself. It's been good hanging out with all of you. Bye-bye.